Jedi Survivor is an action-adventure game that follows on from 2019's Fallen Order. It stars a Jedi called Castis. In classic Star Wars fashion, he is having issues with the Galactic Empire. He doesn't have the strength or enough allies to bring down the dominant organization. But there are people he'd like to protect, so when he hears of a place away from the Empire's grasp, he looks for a way to get there. This means exploring a few different planets. Along the way, the protagonist has to keep himself grounded as the allure from the dark side of the Force is always there, trying to push him away from the side of good. It isn't a groundbreaking narrative, but it's an engaging one, filled with some interesting characters and plenty of twists and turns. What if you lived in a world where you could do whatever you wanted? Welcome to Grand Theft Auto 5. An open-world game where the city of Los Santos is yours to explore and cause as much chaos without getting caught. Want to steal a plane and fly around the city? You can do that and so much more. If you want a more story-rich experience, you can follow the main campaign about three criminals, Michael DeSanta, Franklin Clinton, and Trevor Phillips, who are coerced into committing a series of heists by a crooked government. While GTA 5 has multiplayer features, the story mode is a thrill to play alone with hours of content to keep you engaged. In Tales of Arise, the people of the fictional planet known as Rena have enslaved the people of Dana. One of those slaves manages to break free of the bondage and joins up with a magical woman to take down the Renian leaders. He wants to do so to free his own people. She, on the other hand, is Renian, but she still wants to bring down her people's leaders for reasons she doesn't want to divulge. This creates an interesting dynamic between the two protagonists that remains fascinating during the entire story. The Witcher 3 was released several years before the Xbox Series XS, but it was later brought out on newer systems as the complete edition. The game's main story revolves around a monster slayer known as Geralt, who is searching for his adoptive daughter, Ciri. She is an extraordinary woman being hunted by a deadly species called the Wild Hunt. The tale is captivating and contains plenty of emotional and memorable moments. What's more, you get some say in how it all unfolds. After all, the game has many impactful choices that alter the main tale, particularly the ending. This is also the case for plenty of the game's side quests, which also tend to have deep narratives. Cyberpunk 2077 is a first-person action RPG where you play as a customizable merc named V. Your initial goal is to make your name in the futuristic city known as Night City. Yet, as you start to get into the story, the stakes begin to get more significant. So what starts as a fairly standard narrative becomes much more enjoyable. Contributing to this enjoyment are a few of the main characters, including V and the famous rock star Johnny Silverhand, who are both very interesting. It isn't just the main narrative that features strong storytelling either. Plenty of side quests in the game tell fascinating tales too. In Lost Judgment, you play as a private detective named Yagami. He is sent to the city of Yokohama to help his friends on a case. It begins simply enough with a visit to a school, but things quickly get more complicated as the narrative continues. It all turns into one big, compelling mystery filled with plenty of twists and turns. When you aren't engaging in the captivating story, you are roaming the open world, completing side content, and regularly getting into exciting third-person fistfights. The Metal Gear Solid Master Collection contains both the original Metal Gear titles and the first 3 Metal Gear Solid ones. All of them are stealth games that showcase wonderful storytelling. This is particularly true for the MGS titles, as they also contain long and compelling cutscenes. Each entry has its own self-contained story, but most of them revolve around grizzled hero Solid Snake and sometimes Raiden attempting to save the world. Anyone who has played the games will recognize that description is just the tip of the iceberg, though. The narratives in these games are very deep and focus heavily on politics, war, morality, mortality, and serious family drama. The writing and voice acting are generally exceptional and help create some really powerful moments. It Takes Two is an action, adventure, and puzzle platformer title that not only encourages co-op play but enforces it, as you can't play the game alone. It contains innovative puzzles, clever game mechanics, and a surprisingly deep narrative. The story revolves around a married couple on the verge of divorce. Their young daughter recognizes this and it breaks her heart. So, she makes 2 dolls of them to fantasize about them being happy together once again. In the process, the parents are magically transformed into the toys. At this point, their goal becomes transforming back into humans. However, the situation also forces them to spend some real time together, which they haven't done in a while. The combination of the parents trying to resolve their issues and their daughter desperately trying to fix things is fascinating to watch. Xbox owners might have missed out on Until Dawn, but now we've got The Quarry to enjoy on our boxy console. Just like its popular predecessor, The Quarry has you controlling a group of teenagers in a choice-driven, corny horror movie situation. And to make the whole game even better, you and your friends can control different characters, placing their survival in the charge of different hands. Obviously, this might impact the ending if one of your buds isn't too reactive with a quick time event, but it definitely makes gaming get-togethers more dynamic and entertaining. For many, the springboard for the Persona series as we know it today began with Persona 3. This remake of the iconic third title brings the style and polish of Persona 5 to the arguably more intense story of Persona 3. As with the original version of the game, you play as a young high school student who has to juggle the typical tribulations of classroom life with gargantuan supernatural battles against monsters that prey on the minds of people. You know, average high school extracurricular activities. It's not just PS5 and PC owners who get to experience one of the best gaming experiences of all time. 2023 was a year full of highly anticipated games, from The Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom to Starfield. And despite this mountain of phenomenal games that were released during this year, there was one clear winner. Baldur's Gate 3 is a masterpiece, a testament to the ingenuity and storytelling innovations we've made in the gaming industry. As a matter of fact, it almost feels as if it's too good. The twisting intrigue of Alan Wake 2's narrative leaves its predecessor in the dust, which is saying something, given how wonderfully engrossing the first game was. However, one of the things that sets the sequel's narrative apart is how richly stylized the story is. Alan Wake 2 unashamedly leans into the narrative aspects that make a Remedy entertainment game a Remedy entertainment game. That mix of live-action film with a horror video game is undeniably their signature genre. And Alan Wake 2's narrative is just unafraid to leave you boiling in mystery. As you play through both Alan and Saga's stories, you'll know without a doubt you're playing a narrative-driven game that is quite unlike any other. In our review of the game, our Jade King made the following statement to sum up her thoughts on the game. Hellblade takes you into the mind of Senua as she seeks to save the soul of her dead lover, whose head she carries wrapped in cloth at her belt. This might sound disturbing and gross, but Senua's sacrifice does not hesitate to take you to narrative realms that are disquieting. Senua hears voices in her head, and since you're playing as her, you'll hear them whispered in your headphones or speakers, if that's how you're playing. Nothing beats walking through a dark cavern, making a right, and then having a voice murmur to you, "That's the wrong way." We know the saying is trite, but damn, Hellblade goes above and beyond, placing you in Senua's shoes and ensuring you understand what it's like to perceive the world as she does. It's a narrative experience everyone should try at least once. The Gears of War series has gone through numerous changes as the years have gone by, but one thing has remained clear throughout. Even though the games are marketed as a tough-as-nails muscular dudes fight horrendous creatures with chainsaws attached to guns kind of adventure, when emotional moments do happen, they happen with no mercy. From discovering a lobotomized Maria in the Locust Caverns to Dom's sacrifice in Gears of War 3, the series knows how to pack a heart-rending punch as well as make you feel like an unstoppable cog soldier. Gears 5 continues this tradition by raising the stakes for our new cast of characters, JD, Del and Kate. It's been a few years since Gears 5 came out, but we'll still refrain from spoiling what has to be the most unexpected choice you've ever made in a Gears game. Originally made for PC, Soma's move to consoles is a narrative gift to gamers. More people than ever before can confront its intense philosophical musings of what it means to be a sentient human being. You play as a man named Simon who finds himself unexpectedly placed in an underwater facility that's quickly deteriorating after a global crisis has sent the human population to the very brink of extinction. There are horror elements to Soma that are not for the faint of heart, but if you can get past that tension, you're in for a story that will stick with you long after you finish the game. In both Innocence and its sequel, A Plague Tale Requiem, the voice acting is superb. The depth of emotion conveyed in every spoken word makes Amisha and Hugo's journey through their rat-filled world twice as harrowing. The game focuses on this sibling pair as Amisha attempts to shelter and guide her younger brother past the dangers of a plague-ridden France. There are more mystical elements to the story than its historical setting might imply, but the liberties taken with these real events only enhance the story Innocence is trying to tell. At the end of the day, no matter what macular magic is inserted into the narrative, this story is about a sister and brother who love each other in a world that seeks to tear them apart. Since the original game, the Life is Strange series has continually delivered compelling stories filled with twists and turns. True Colors is no different in that regard. In it, you play Alex Chen, who visits a small mining town to meet up with her brother. It starts out as a pretty wholesome reunion for the two siblings, yet Alex soon finds out that the town has some dark secrets and she attempts to uncover them. It's a narrative adventure game, so the game includes walking around, talking to people, and interacting with objects. There's also a unique element, Alex's special power to view other people's emotions, which comes in handy throughout the game. As Dusk Falls boasts one of the most original art and animation styles in recent memory. This immediately allows the game to stand out among other narrative adventures. But it isn't the only thing the title has going for it, as the game also contains a brilliantly told story. The tale revolves around the lives of two families who meet in the Arizona desert in 1998. They couldn't be more different, as the Walkers are a wholesome family, while the Holt brothers are criminals. However, the tale slowly reveals that they're more than their archetypes suggest. You practically determine who they are and what they do, as you must make a litany of choices throughout the game. If you've played Her Story or Telling Lies, you'll feel right at home with Immortality, as it shares a developer with those two titles and plays in a very similar way. This is because it's an interactive film game in which you look through different live-action footage, hoping to find clues to solve a mystery. The mystery in this one revolves around actress Marissa Marcel. She starred in 3 movies from 1968 to 1999, but none of them were ever released. Plus, Marissa is currently missing. By examining the footage of the films, interviews, and any behind-the-scenes videos, you must figure out what happened to the actress and the films in which she starred. Yakuza Like a Dragon had launched in 2020 alongside the Xbox Series XS as a timed console exclusive, following its debut in Japan earlier in the year. And unlike previous games in the series, this one was drawing inspiration from JRPGs with a turn-based battle system that looks ripped straight out of a Dragon Quest game series, which is also referenced in this game. The game centers upon Ichiban, a low-ranking enforcer for the Arakawa family that just got out of prison after taking the fall for a murder he did not commit. He soon learns that Arakawa had betrayed the Tojo clan, to which it was a subsidiary. This prompts him to embark on an RPG-styled quest to find out exactly what had happened, alongside a number of other characters who make up his party of heroes. There are plenty of fantastic mods for games, but not many of them are good enough to become standalone titles. This just shows you the greatness of the Forgotten City, as it started as a Skyrim mod. The actual game is a bit different from the mod, as there's more depth, and it functions better. However, the story is still about humanity and laws. At the start of the game, you're asked to explore some nearby ruins, which lead you to a beautiful Roman city. Once there, you learn about the golden rule of the place, which is the many shall suffer for the sins of the one. What the quote means is that any time somebody sins, everyone is turned into gold. This is an important aspect of the adventure. Equally important are all the residents in this city, as you will spend most of the game talking to them and learn a lot in the process. The Medium is a psychological horror game that was released in 2021 as a timed console exclusive for the Xbox Series XS. It was developed by Bloober Team, who had already made a name for itself in the horror genre with titles like Blair Witch and Layers of Fear. Their latest game follows the exploits of a spirit medium named Marianne, who is drawn to an abandoned vacation resort by recurring dreams and the man claiming to know what those dreams mean. The game harkens back to early titles in the Silent Hill and Resident Evil series, employing similar techniques like fixed camera angles and atmospheric location to create a sense of growing dread within the player. Its story also promises layers to its overarching mysteries that gradually get unraveled over the course of its 8-hour campaign. The Halo series is arguably the Xbox Game Studios' pride and joy, since it's been with the company from the very beginning. And with the latest entry, Halo Infinite, the developers at 343 Industries had set out to craft the most ambitious Halo adventure yet. The single-player campaign portion of the game once again finds players stepping into the shoes of Master Chief, only this time around he must contend with a coalition of alien races known as the Banished, while also trying to complete his mission to neutralize his former partner and rogue AI, Cortana. The game takes place on Zeta Halo, a ring world where the Banished have built their stronghold, and with the help of another AI known simply as the Weapon, Chief must fight to help the UNSC win the war. From his early days at LucasArts, Tim Schafer had proven himself to be a master storyteller. So when it was first announced that his team at Double Fine would be working on a sequel to one of his most beloved games, Psychonauts, fans were excited by the prospect. Psychonauts 2 would eventually launch in 2021 to near unanimous praise, as it delivers on its promise of another mind-bending platforming adventure game in the vein of the 2005 Xbox original. The game is set directly after the events of the first game and its VR-exclusive follow-up, Psychonauts in the Rhombus of Ruin. Players once again play as Raz, a member of the titular task force, as he tries to uncover the mystery surrounding the disappearance of their leader. When Guardians of the Galaxy was first shown off at E3 2021, no one really expected much from the game. Most of that was due to the bad taste the last Marvel property Square Enix had taken a stab at had left in our mouths. So you can imagine our collective surprise when the game was released and turned out to be something quite special. Not only did it have no microtransactions in sight, but it also boasted some tight gameplay and great-looking visuals. Even more surprising, though, was its story, which was fun and also heartfelt. The Marvel Cinematic Universe has already shown us in its Guardians of the Galaxy movies that these characters had heaps of heart to spare, but it was still nice to see how well that translated over to a video game in this particular iteration. There are numerous aspects of Pentiment that break the mold of traditional gaming experiences. Beyond the seldom-seen medieval manuscript art style, it featured one of the most philosophical approaches to storytelling found in the modern gaming era. You follow the life of 16th-century Bavarian artist Andreas Meller as they make a living illustrating on behalf of nobles and barons from the comfort of a monastery. Until one day, said Baron is murdered, with a friend of yours being accused of the crime. Spanning over a 25-year period, Andreas will go in search of the true killer, uncovering conspiracies, secrets, moral quandaries, and truths better left hidden. How are you to decide who's to blame or who should be blamed? Is what you're doing right? How do you define right? Be prepared to ask yourself plenty of these hard questions as you experience the storyline.